Six, welcome back to the second half of lesson three. We're talking about how plants grow. Yesterday we talked about the difference between angiosperms, flowers into fruit, gymnosperms in cones. Today we're going to talk about their growth from there, another way they grow without seeds, and then we'll talk about tropisms, how they respond to their environment. Okay, you got your note page out. We're ready to get rocking and rolling. An embryo can only grow so large within the seed. Then the seed must wait until conditions in its environment are right for it to germinate. Okay? A plant germinates when it starts to grow from a seed. Each plant species needs certain conditions for germination and growth. So a plant germinates which starts to grow from a seed. So I start growing from a seed, guys, and then I got to get through. What do we need for the conditions to be right? All seeds need certain temperature to germinate. I wrote that for you. In colder climates, seeds germinate usually in the spring or early summer when the soil and air are warm. Seeds also need water to break open the seed coat. A plant that germinates in a tropical rainforest probably needs a higher temperature and more moisture than a plant that grows in a colder or drier climate. Seeds also need oxygen. When a seed coat opens, more oxygen can reach the cells of the embryo, and the cells get larger. Then they divide to make new cells. If the seed gets too much moisture, they may not get enough oxygen, and the growth will not take place, and instead the seed just rots. Okay, so guys, as I'm thinking about that, you can see why in the fall, a lot of trees will drop its seeds. Now, what's the job of that seed coat we talked about yesterday? Wait. Wait until there's enough things. That doesn't happen in the winter. There's not enough sunlight, there's not enough temperature, there's not enough water because it's all frozen. And so in the spring, the temperature starts to grow, the water gets into the soil, that triggers this seed coat to let out the seed and start to grow a plant. So God in his wisdom drops them usually in the fall so that they grow in the spring in the wild. But guys, in the spring there's enough of those things to grow. That's why we always plant in the spring, because of the needs that are there. If conditions are not right, some seeds may become inactive, sometimes for long periods. This helps protect the embryo inside the seed. Some inactive seeds can survive conditions that would kill a growing plant. For example, some seeds can survive severe droughts, freezing temperatures, and forest fires. Okay, so some seeds will become inactive until conditions are right. God in his wisdom, guys, has those cones right here we talk about. Some of those cones, guys, only open under extreme heat. And so as we go along here, God in his wisdom says, here comes a forest fire. It's going to destroy the forest. And nothing's going to grow there anymore. Nope, that forest fire actually needed the heat to pop open some of those cones. And after that happens, those cones open up and release their seeds, which then will give new plant growth. Okay, so God in his wisdom does a very good job of creating these plants that we don't think have nervous systems like we do to think, because they just react with chemicals, but are able to survive till conditions are correct. Okay, when a seed germinates, a root begins to grow downward, the stem begins to grow upward. A plant gets larger by producing new cells at the tips of its roots and stems. So you're down here, guys, with tips for number 4. Branches of a plant stem may grow from side buds. Some plants have growth that increases the plant's width. This would be like a tree ring, guys. We know it adds width every year. Cells also divide to repair damaged tissue in the plant. Not all plants grow from seeds. Mosses and ferns produce spores. You had that on one of your assignments way back in like lesson chapter 1 or chapter 2, where we had talked about the spores that were produced sometimes. You can see in the table how spores and seeds differ, but spores too can only develop into plants if conditions are right. For most spore-producing plants, that means plenty of water is available. We think about mushrooms. Mushrooms produce spores, guys. They like a lot of water. Okay, I wrote down here, know your chart. Here's your chart. What is a spore? It contains a single cell that grows to a new plant. What's a seed? It's multicellular. That'll develop in a new plant. A spore does not contain stored food. A seed definitely has stored food. A spore is usually very small, Seeds can vary in size from the very small mustard seed we talk about in the Bible to acorns that can be big to, you have your apple seeds and orange seeds and watermelon seeds, guys. They come in different shapes and sizes. Okay. Have you ever wondered why roots grow down and stems grow up? The reason is that plants, like all living organisms, respond to their environments. Boom, 7. You may not think that plants have behaviors because plant behavior is not easy to see, but plants bend, droop, twist, and turn. Unlike animals, plants do not have nerves to control behaviors. Instead, behaviors can result from chemicals that they produce. Okay? Chemicals cause the cells in different parts of the plant to grow in different rates. Cells on one side of a stem may grow faster than the cells on the opposite side. As you can see in this diagram down here, this uneven growth causes the stem to bend. Okay, so they're growing faster here, they're longer, they're shorter here, that causes it to bend toward the shorter side. All plants on this page are showing some kind of behavior. They are growing either toward or away from something in their environment. Okay, so growing toward or away something in their environment. We'll talk about what that something is coming up. Now that's called a tropism. For example, the roots of many plants grow toward water. This response of a plant to water is called hydrotropism. If you know, hydro is your prefix for water. Okay, so down here, hydrotropism is the growth toward water. Phototropism is a response to light. Growth chemicals cause stems to bend toward light. Roots, however, bend away from light. Okay, so tropism is the growth toward light. You think about a sunflower, it's always trying to face the sun to get the most energy from it. That's phototropism. Photo means light, guys. The response of a plant to gravity is called geotropism. Even though germination took place in darkness, the roots of this corn seedling grew downward and the stem grew upward. Okay, so unburied inside the ground, we grow toward gravity. Gravity pulls roots down and stems against gravity. So what's fun to do is to plant a little plant seed inside like cup you get from a restaurant that has a top on it that the straw goes through, and you get the plant to grow through that opening where the straw opening is, guys, and then you tape that lid on and you flip it upside down. And what you're doing is you're messing with geotropism, because the plant now, the stem that's growing up, you just flipped upside down and now it's going to start to grow. No, it's not. It says, whoa, now I'm growing the wrong way, and the stem will literally turn around and start to grow up, and you'll have this big huge bend going on because they're growing faster and trying to get to light and understanding geotropism. So it's the growth of roots down and the stems up. It's a response to gravity, guys, if you want to put that on there. Photo is gravity, geo means earth, so it's responding to the earth's gravity. Thigmotropism is a response to touch. A plant that has positive thigmotropism grows toward a surface that it touches. Plants with negative thigmotropism grows away from a surface. So positive grows toward a surface it touches, negative grows away from it. These are vines, guys. Vines grow toward touch. It connects to the side of your house as a plant climbs up the side of your house. Vines in the woods will grow toward a tree to wrap around it. So as a tree grows up, it pulls the vine up because vines aren't strong enough to grow straight themselves. Negative tropism will be sometimes like you'll see branches of trees start to grow together, and then they'll be competing for the same sunlight, so they'll grow toward one another, they touch, and then they start to grow away from each other as that happens. So plants want sunlight, guys, so they might grow away from other plants because of negative thigmotropism. Vines would grow toward it because they want the touch. We already talked about hydro, growth toward water. All these different tropisms, guys, that helps plants respond. Helps them survive, gets them to be what God wants them to be. Awesome, we're done with lesson 3. Therefore, you got the worksheet on it. Blessings.